Alright, hello everybody. Here. Um, alright, so yes, today we're taking another crack at a GUI library, just going from scratch because it's been a while. But before we even start, there's a few things I want to just, first off, we gotta get our build.gradle set up. But first, I want to say, I want to write down exactly just kind of what we want in this project. So like, um, first off, I want it to be a library and a plugin. So that means we need an API that we need to be able to switch between them, right? So say we hook into the library, that's fine. But I want to be able to implement or use it as a plugin, kind of like MBT API. If you install MBT API as a plugin on your server, then it will just work. You'll be using it as an API basically, and you won't have to implement it into your plugin. But also, I want to be able to implement it into your plugin, and it'll work just fine. So the benefits of using it as a plugin and hooking it to its API will be that you'll be able to register different actions and requirements to it. So if it's a plugin, requirements, it will store custom actions and requirements from other plugins. Which will be accessible from other plugins, right? And if it's a library, then you'll still be able to add your own custom ones, but it won't be obtainable through, the plugin or whatever, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure that out. And then I want it to be, hello, welcome in, welcome back. I want it to be, I don't know about 1.8 plus, I guess. So it'll be using just normal Spigot API. I'm gonna just try to be making one. I don't know how far I'll get, but I don't know. Might as well start on it. Well, it'll be 1.8 plus, which means I will need X series for X materials. I'll need obviously placeholder API support. Sure. Yeah. I already made a repository for it. Just github.com/deopping/mantis menus. But there's nothing on it right now, obviously. Okay. How about put that there instead of my actual GitHub account that I'm linked to on here, but whatever. Whatever. Okay. So we will. Is that really what I'm? Is that really the account I'm on IntelliJ? I swear to God, I'm not. Hold on. Let me check like settings or something. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, that's not the account I'm on IntelliJ. So why is that even a thing? Whatever. Honestly, it's fine. Still under it. Yeah, it's under my deopping account. So that's the one that it pushed to, yet GitHub shows my other account as the one who committed it. That's so weird how GitHub works. That's so ridiculous. But you know what? Again, it's fine. I'm just gonna not worry about it. Going into the software development industry or game development industry anyways, my name will be out there. It's fine. Doesn't matter anymore. So, alright. So yeah, we'll just, what else do we want for this library or plugin, whatever? I know we need an API, so we'll need it to be multi-module. Multi-module. The only thing I'm not 100% sure on is how I can just upload the API onto its own like repository that you can access, like just the API module instead of the whole thing. But I don't know. Let's go spigot Gradle here. We just need this. Yeah, there's spigot. Maven local, pretty sure. And we need this, I think. Or we'll just get this. And we'll see if we need that afterwards. A 1.8. There we go. Let me check. That's here. Let's see if this one, if it's, yeah, SRC main, and this has the main class in it, so we'll do that. Also, this implements Astra plugin, and Astra plugin is from the common module, I believe. Yeah, there's that. So we'll have to do that. And then we can also copy this build.gradle, kind of. Right. So the proper way, we can go here and call it common, region Java 8. That's all fine. Common. All right. So we need build src here. So new directory. That build source. Okay. src main and Groovy. We also need a build.gradle on here. src main Groovy. And then we need one of these. So I'll say common. I don't know. I'll just call it common.gradle. Or you know what? Whatever. There we go. Menus common Gradle. Okay. So this build.gradle file here is simply including the Groovy Gradle plugin in it. Not this one. This one here. With this one in the build source folder has this plugin. That's all it needs. Then this one here, this one contains all of our project stuff that will be the same. We'll have like, let's see all this. So, oh yeah, I do want to support head database. Even though I'm not sure how many people actually use head database. but we'll see. So this one here, we have this. We want Java 8. If that's even a proper version there. Plugins, Java, and we don't need paperweight because we're not going to use paper since we're supporting 1.8. Here we want this. Yep. Repositories. This is for placeholder API, so yeah, we'll do that. And then this stuff down here. Don't need that. That's paper. Placeholder API, head database. Let's check. One 1.3.2. Yeah. That's still 1.3.2. Hasn't been updated since 2024. It's over a year ago, but okay. I believe that's fine. Is that all we had? Looks like it. Oh, maybe the test here. There we go. So now that we have all this stuff here, we can go back to our main build.gradle, and we don't need this Java plugin because it's already in here. But instead, we're going to say, I think just that. We're going to go back here and then here. Well, this one has Java in it. I think it's actually .comment, is it? Anyways, we do want a gradle.properties file. That way we can actually put the version in there. Version patch 0. So it's the 1.0.0. I think that's fine for now. Okay. Should I comment? That's why it's answer dot comment right there. Okay. There we go. That worked. Now we can go here and we could say version major, version minor, version at. There we go. I'm honestly not the best at versioning plugins or whatever, but you know. So this is good. I think we can honestly put this in here, because I think all the versions use the same repository. And then we could put Maven local there too. We also don't need Maven central here, since it's in there as well. You don't need this test since it's in there. This is the group and the version. This will be taken. This will take it from here. And did we need anything else? We probably need shadow. Yes, we definitely need shadow. Riddle up. Shadow. Yeah, and I don't know. That's 8.11. Not 8.11. It's 9 point something, but All right. Yeah. 9.0.0. I think the last that I used, I think it's actually in my other project. This one here. Yeah, 9.0.0-RC1. That means release candidate 1. Alright. That, I think, okay, it needs Java 11, so we need to go down a bit. 8. So 8.3.0, what's, let me figure out what's the highest version of 8.3. Where's their, uh, here we go, releases. 1.0.0 RC1, down, 8.3.8. So I think 8.3.8 should be fine. Unless it requires Java 9. Nope, we're good. Alright. Okay, you are fine. God, I hate having to do this because there's so many of them. It's not necessary to do this, but annoying to have that yellow line there. Alright, so we have this. The common module now needs to be set up. So here, I can go up, we can go common, Gradle here. Okay, so we have just our common plugin. I believe that means we need our spigot 1.8 spigot stuff in here, which is actually fine. Because if we do version specific modules, then we'll have a different common Gradle plugin for that. We'll have a different one of these for that. So let's go back here and let's say you go to there. You need to be added. There we go. Okay, I think this is good for now. We will have dependencies on other modules, so I'll add that block there just for now. Okay. Alright, so first things first, let's say right, what class what? This will be interface. Okay, whoops, I was making a class, not just a package. And then down here, the actual, not just in each class here. Okay, so here we need to go down. We don't actually need this since it's in our common plugin. We can say my only project common, just like that. And we'll have our, and now we'll be depending on our common module. implements, so we'll say extends Java plugin, implements that. Cool. This is our main class. So we'll have an onload, on enable, and then we'll have a disable as well. And we'll have a instance of this right there. Okay. Basic setup, and we don't know what we want in here yet. But stuff is ready to be added. You know what? I should also probably put this. Should also probably add the actual project name in there, huh? Cool. So we want it to be a library as well. The thing, not just a plugin, an API. So first we should make an API module here. And for our API module, we actually just use we don't actually even use the common plugin. We do actually need all this stuff. We don't even have the group in here. We don't want you. And we don't want you. And we want you to be 8. So we want the oh god, setting a Java folder. We don't need. If we want you. So you and Maven local. And we want you. And that should be it. Oh my god, vulnerabilities. Just ignore all of them. None of my business. Okay. Also, we did just check that it works because we can actually import. So we're good there too. API. Let's add that. Okay, cool. So you have got how do we do it? Here. The Astra API, which is an interface, but it also has a static method to get the interface. Yeah. Oh. I'll just name it this without the I. Is it? Yeah, static. This will get the plugin from the bucket plugin manager. Actually, we don't even need to do a null check. We just need an instance of. Otherwise, we return null down here. There we go. There's our. Oh yeah, we can't use that because it's not. It's Java 8. Downfalls of Java 8, man. Okay, cool. And we don't actually need anything quite yet there. And then the common, we will file only project API. Do that. And then I think we need to do that in our actual build.gradle 2. Yeah. So here, and we're actually going to change this from compile only to implementation. And then also API, and then we'll put that up there instead. There we go. And now we have we're implementing our API and our interface version of this one. Cool. So we don't need anything in here yet. Don't need this open. Don't need anything in here yet. Okay. So what will happen if somebody implements this as a library, right? How will they use this? I don't think that they will be able to do that. Let me actually check how I did it. Is this okay? Good. Right. Repositories. GUI. This one's private. I don't even. Okay, great. So glad I'm good at managing my GitHub. Never mind then. We'll figure it out. It's been a while since I've done this, so I don't quite remember, but let's see. So obviously when you're importing a library, you need something to be static, right? So you can just get and initialize the, whatever. But how about we not worry about it being a library or an actual library for now? And we just worry about the plugin aspect of it. So let's say in our common module, there's say items, new, item builder, item builder. Okay, so we want build. We want a. Did I put this in a model? Model in there. That's fine. So we can say. Also, I think we can make this not public, because it's technically in the same package as my class down here. See, these are the same packages. I can still access it from here, even though it's not public. And then same thing with the API, I guess. The question is if I can access that. Sorry. There we go. Oh, the question is if I can access this now. No, so it does need to be public then. Yeah, alright. So never mind. We'll keep it like that. Good thing to think about though. All right, so we have that, and how I want to do the material wrapper, I guess. Do that. We can pass in an I material wrapper. The reason we're doing this is because I want it to be a valid material that we're passing in, not something that could be null or something. All right. Okay. Also, I might be getting ahead of myself, but I just know this is what kind of we need to do. All right, this is the... I'm doing this in the wrong... Well, no, I only did this one in the wrong one. So we can refactor it. There we go. Material wrapper, yeah. So we need to say the build method. I think what we just need is like we say defaults turn 0 and say that, right? So this is optional to override. So you can apply, you can set the custom model data. You need an integer actually in here. And then you can do, it'll default to 0, obviously, so you don't need to override any of these actually. And then the build method, I think I could do it, no. I don't know, okay, we'll figure it out. Maybe this needs, yeah, maybe this needs to be in the API. Can't see that I when my cursor is there. So you be here. Okay. Really? You're not in the class path? Okay, right. Java 8 doesn't just automatically have whatever. I gotta do... This is from... No. No, again, I don't know why it's 2 different places. Thanks, SEO. So JetBrains. No. These would be annotations. Annotations, here we go. So we need you here. The API, and then oh, there we go. That's what I want to use. And the material wrapper, I guess. All right, we're gonna rename you to just item builder, and then we'll just rename. We'll put models in here. Material wrapper. Okay. You. And then, since this is in the API, we do have access to it in the common module, since this one is compiling that. Or add, or just depending on it. Okay, close you. let's add this to our common build src here. Okay. We're gonna reload. What's going on here? I don't know. I guess I don't need to reload it. Okay then. Anyways, so this has that. I want set material. And also we probably want X material. Go down 13.3.3. All right. And go to the where is it? All right, here. This one we want like that. Crypto more, and I think set material it can do. I think you also need that one. There you go. We'll have that as well. So pass the string or an X material in. Sure. Material. Sure, whatever. Void set data. And this is for this is for 1.8 stuff. So anything before 1.13 where you have like material wool colon 15 for black wool or whatever, the data is that 15. This should be good. This is all version dependent stuff because you don't need data for versions 1.13 and onwards, and then you can't use custom model data for anything below 1.14. So that's that. That the materials data versions below 1.13. Should I pass this in as a byte? The materials data. Or get the materials data for versions Materials data. So in materials, custom model data is the item stacks. Custom model data versions 1.14 plus. Item stacks, custom model data. Item stacks, custom model data, right? Material data. You can send it up here. I like to link whenever I can. So it essentially looks like this. Get the materials data. You can click on this and go to material Java documentation. Build the item stack. All the parameters from the item builder of the item stack. Material as a this can actually be nullable and be null, and then return link item stack not null, and we'll say here item stack build. Actually, what I want is nullable player here as well. The player who build the stack for can be null. And then we'll say nullable player, and then we'll say build nullable my material wrapper. Okay, and then we'll say not null build. Okay, and these are actually going to be default methods, meaning they don't have to be overridden, but they can be. And the reason we're doing that is so that you don't have to override every build method. You only have to override the main one here, which takes in both parameters. Because these ones are simply, all they're going to do is you're going to say return build player null, because we're passing in the player. So we can pass in player. Yeah, so we can just call this one if we only want to pass in the player. And then it'll just return this method with material as null, but the player passed in. And same thing down here, we're going to say return build null and then material. So we're passing null as the player because we're not passing a player into this one. And we're passing the material in there. And then same thing right here, we're going to say return build null. So we're passing both player and material null. So it's basically all of these methods here. All they do is return this method. And this is the only one you need to actually override. So that makes it a lot easier. You don't have to keep overriding all 4 build methods, just the one. Okay. And these can probably be defaulted as well. Set material methods. So what I want to do is say match x material, and this will download documentation. parses the given material to an expector. Throws an illegal argument exception. So, match defined X material string byte. This one and the data value as an X material. So this will takes in a string and data. So what we could do is say material there and then pass in the data. But the thing is, we don't actually have a data value here, but I guess we could call get data actually. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna say what was it? It was match defined X material. So dot name, and then we can also pass in get data. And this returns not no string byte as protected access. Okay. Then why are you telling me to see also that? Okay. So we can't actually use that then because it's protected. But it's telling me, hey, see this one as well. Protected. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Thanks. Thanks for writing your Java documentation that way. Can't actually use that method, but you're telling me to see it. Okay, well. Is it in here? So what do? You say match defined X material name unknown data value. So that's what it's doing there. An unknown data value is just a -1. Can we... Let's click on U here, and then let's see if there's any references to this. Doesn't look like it'll tell me. Let's say byte data. So you can get it from the item stack. There's no other... This one's private. Requests old X material. You don't put the D plus. This helps find the old material name with its data value using cache search for optimization. Yeah, but again, I can't access this method. So how do I use it? How can I access this information with this methods here? Without using reflection, of course, because I don't want to do that. And I do like... I can do get data, but I can't set the data for this material. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. We'll just worry about that later. So we'll say return, or not return, sorry. Set material, and we'll just pass that in. So we don't actually need to override this one, but we can if we want to. And same thing here. Set material, X material, dot. Oh yeah, and this throws an illegal argument exception, so I should actually make sure we can try catch this, right? So try set material this, catch illegal argument exception, set material dot stone. Actually, this will just call this method again. So what I want to say is your X material. Oh, wow, I can actually do that. Dot stone. Really good. We'll do that. So this either one will call this one, not this one again. And then something down here. So we can match with the name of it still instead of using value of. And this one, I assume also, no, it does not throw it. See, you're private. Why are you telling me to view this method if it's private? maybe it's just in case I want to know what it's doing, but it's just not. Parses the material name and data value from the specified string. So this will allow me to say like pass in ink _sat:1 for red dye or something, but that's not what I want to use this method for. Let's just use value of, and this one we know throws it. So try set material, right, and then catch illegal, and then we'll just set material stone. Okay. So the default, if you pass in an invalid material, it will just set it as stone as a default. Okay, so those methods are good. Let's say set the material of the item stack. Make X material and C item builder set material. Oh, I actually want to pass in material here, and then can I string there, and then how does that look here? Oh, good. Material with the item stack as an X material. Got it. Good. So then here we can say set the material of the item stack, material of the item stack, not as an X material, but then here we can say CX material and C string, and then down here, of course, as a string. Oh wait, no, this goes down here. And we can say X material and material, just like that. So this one, the string directs you to X material and material. The material directs you to X material and string, and the X material directs you to material and string. So there's their Java documentation there. So here's set data. Oh, looks pretty good. Just get data, put custom model data, and get custom model data. Of course, our build, which we should actually do C build with just player, build with just the material, build with nothing. Okay, and the same thing here. This one should see I material wrapper and build, and then player that you have material. Then we want layer, and then there we go. Now pass there, remove material, build player there, and then there we go, just like that. Pretty simple stuff here. Go the read mode for Java documentation. So this isn't actually everything we need. So we have the material, we have the data, and we have the custom model data. But we also want to say, oh, you know what? Also, we want to say, and builder. Right, and then up here, item builder And then up here, of course, instead of void, we'll do that. So that way, whenever we call one of these methods, we're returning the item builder. So we're returning itself. That way you could chain methods onto each other. So you can set material, like item builder dot set material dot set data dot set display name, whatever. So you could do the same thing over and over again, and it'll all work the same. So as well, we want to say not null item builder here. Get data is going to return what it is because that makes sense. Item builder, okay, there we go. And then these are obviously going to return item sec still. All right, so up here we'll say we also need a return the item builder. Return this as default. Yep. Return this as default because you're not doing anything with it. All you're doing is returning. Okay. And I want, and then of course up here we're also saying return. We need that after the parameter. Return. Okay. Right, there we go. So we can also minimize all of these here. Make the file a little more readable. There we go. So now we're gonna do this display name stuff. So default, actually we're gonna say set display name. We'll say nullable string display name. All right. So that's that. That's pretty easy. Set the item stacks display name. String nullable we're going to say the item builder. Okay, and then we'll say not null string. Now we'll do nullable. Get display name. Get the item stacks display name string nullable. Okay. Get the display name there. All right, cool. So now we have display name. Now we want to be able to set the lore, right? Ooh, wow. So for this, I want go here. I want utilities string to list. List static, not null list string. And I think we can do generics here. Somehow. Do list. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let me say So we're basically compiling from this to just a list of it. So we could say return new array list input. No, actually we need a we're gonna actually do this. We're gonna allow you to pass in as many as you want. That, no, new array list input. Theoretically, arrays as lists, and I think we might not need this. Although this just returns a list, which means not modifiable. We do actually want it to be a new array list. There we go. Possible heap solution. Safe bar are programmer assertion that the body of the annotated method or constructor does not perform potentially unsafe operation on its var parameter. Applying this annotation to a method, the constructor suppresses unchecked warnings about non-verifiable variable authority. Yeah, what? So let's see, the variable arity parameter as a array fileable and element I with primitive types object and string. Expresses already do not occur, such as an assignment to an element of the variable arities parameters array. I don't honestly know what it's talking about. Let's do a class cast exception at runtime. String ... string list. Oh, it's probably referring to the ... here. But this shouldn't. I don't think this should be a problem, right? Not actually save. So they pass in any number, any amount of lists of strings. They make an array that equals the string lists. And they say an object array of the string list. List integer temp list equals array size is 42. Arrays 0 equals temp list string s equals string lists. I don't. Class cast exception. We're not doing any of that, so I think we're fine. All we're doing is putting this into a list, right? Okay, this should be fine. So now we can go here. We can say not null item builder set lore. Okay. It's actually fine. So then we could say not null item builder string input. So now we can do this. Set lore. Actually, we should probably rename this because it's not just string. Element to list. To lists. String. No, that's not how that works. I believe this is fine how it is because we're just passing in strings, so it inherently like knows what it's doing. I'm gonna actually just say return that as well. There we go. So we already have this handled in our own utility class here. We don't have to rewrite this same thing every time. So that's good. So now we can pass in either a list of strings or any amount of strings to set the lore. Right. And then we can also say item builder. We can also add more. Let's string more. And then obviously default, not no. Well, we might actually have to. No, we can do this default. Add more. Make sure your name is lore. And then we say return add more comment to list lore. There we go. So now we're gonna have a method to set the lore. So I think I want this to be nullable. That way you can pass in a null list. And then obviously this one is not null. So if you pass null in, it should just default to this one, theoretically. Hopefully. Because this one's not null. If this was nullable, then it would be ambiguous and you wouldn't be able to tell which one you're trying to call. Anyway, so this is not null at all because you can't. Because why pass null into an add method, right? So this one will add to the existing lore, and this one will set the lore to something else. And if it's null, then it will remove the lore technically. So set the stacks lore. A string list or string list. All right, sweet. Link list string not null. Or actually, can be null. Sorry. Return the item builder. Okay. Item stats lore string any amount of strings not normal. Amount any string not normal. Yep, sure. And then the item builder. Add to the stacks lore. No. The item builder. Add to the lore. And this one said string not the item builder. There we go. We can put that down. Minimize that. So we have lore, display name, material, data, custom model data. Yes. Okay, and then also, what else do we need for this? For an item stack. We could do amount, but yeah, let's do amount. We can change the amount of the item stack. Because this is just for menus, right? I'm gonna We're not giving them multiple of an item. And we'll say set the amount of the item stack. Not that, okay. The amount. The item build. How did I do other parameters? That's not what I wanted to do. The amount for the item stack, or the item stack new amount. I don't know, sure. So we can set the amount of it now. What else can our item stack have besides MBT data or PDC data, right? Speaking of, we might want to utilize MBT API for this, not just PDC, because PDC was not added until later. Which we can actually split up, because since we're gonna do multiple modules per version. Or depending on, or not for every version, but you know, I'll show you how it works. We're gonna choose like the lowest version that we have, depending on, you know, like if they're on 1.21 and we only have up to a 1.16 module, then it'll just select the 1.16 module, because there isn't much beyond 1.16, because 1.16 has hex colors and all that. So yeah, and 1.14 will introduce custom model data. 1.16 will introduce the hex colors. 1.13 will 1.8 will use the data. 1.13 won't use the data, right? So that's kind of what we'll be doing. So this class is looking good. However, I wanted to say PDC wrapper. Kind of. Let's see how this works, because normally PDC requires a namespace key, and the namespace key requires a plugin. And this is also generic. New MBT. We can actually just call this MBT wrapper. My MBT wrapper, okay. So we're gonna say this is actually an abstract class too, so it doesn't need to have I in it. It's not an interface. Private final key value string key. So just do a string key for now. Public MBT wrapper. Final string key. Final t value. Okay, so this dot key equals key. This dot value equals value. You do public getters. Get value, return value. Okay, and then we could say public abstract apply MBT or apply, and then we either pass in the item meta meta, or I think we might actually just pass in the item stack itself, because that might be easier. Okay, so what I'm doing here is this is MBT data, and we'll also interchange it with you know, the whatever here. So I think what I want now is I want to test something here. Actually, I think this might actually need to be an interface. And then we'll just, yeah, okay, let's, well, I don't know, let me check something. String NBT is an interface. And then let me do this. Implement interface. No, I don't think. Actually, what is that here? What does that look like? Okay, it just does that. So, never mind. Yeah, I think we might need to make this just an interface. That means getting rid of all this constructor stuff, which is unfortunate because that would have been helpful. I think there's some way to get this to work how I want it to. But anyways, this should, yeah, this extends that interface. Oh yeah, we need the, no. Huh. Okay, this MBT wrapper will have the get key and get value and the apply method, but we don't actually need this anywhere. So, or we don't need this in here, so we can do that. MBT wrapper. And then the item builder down here, we will add, kind of do the same thing as the lore here with the set and add methods. Except all the way down at the bottom, just above the build methods, we will say this. Add MBT. Not add, sorry. Set MBT. Set MBT. Add MBT. Add MBT. So now I'm gonna go here and say MBT data. MBT wrapper. Is it because it's not implemented yet? Right, and then there we go. So we're gonna pass in any type, right? And that'll be fine. So then here, MBT wrapper. That should be fine. And then rename this to MBT. The item sex MBT data. And something down here. Right, I also gotta replace this on this one too. There we go. This will do its job now. You are good. You are good. Okay. So there we go. Now we'll have, when we're implementing this interface, we'll have a list of any type of NBT, and then we'll have like add NBT string. So you'll pass in like a new string NBT, and then key, and then the, whatever. We'll have to see what happens because again, PDC versus NBT data. Some versions using NBT API, whatever. Okay, I think this is fine for now. Yeah. Item builder to go. I think you're fine to go now. Probably put you there. Put you here. Should we rename you and put you in the models? Item builder. I guess so. Alright. Okay. And we can move it around if we need to. So that handles some item stuff. We also actually have to do this. We haven't done this yet. So we're gonna do... I don't know, item stack. We're gonna do a build method here. Build right there, and we're gonna pass in player. Material. All right. I think we'll see when we get around to actually implementing this if we need to change this up. But I think this is fine for now. Let's say no, don't do that. Go down. Let's go over here. Make a new. No. New directory versions. Make a new module. Well, let me check. What was it? X library. That's NMS. I don't remember. You know what? I think you should have it. Right? Common. Your noodles version. He kinda has it, but what was it called, right? I'm pretty sure it was like X something. It was something our studios or something. I don't. Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me go see if I can actually find it. Yeah, it was Artilic Studios, Axe API. There we go. Artilix-Studios X API. All right, if you want the link, it's Artilix-Studios/X API. So they have a bunch of versions and stuff. They have it. Version, here we go. So this is the class that I kind of used in my Astro Prism. It's an enum, and it has all these different versions here, and I'll probably be using this in my menu library too. But it's really useful to be able to figure out, like, oh, which NMS version equates to which version. So I want to make so they don't actually go down past below 1.16.5, which is a little bit of a problem, but let's see if we can find a version table. I don't know what this is. Okay, yes, here we go. Perfect. Perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. Great repository. So 1.8 is 18R1. So we're going to do that. 18R1. Okay. And we're also going to put it in versions there. Okay. And create. So this is now, we now have our 1.8 module down in our, where is it? Hello. Here, versions. So now we're gonna have to do sort of, let's see, build source here, src, stop it, main, GUI, okay. Create. There we go. Add that. So now I want to copy this stuff here. Build source here, NMS common. So we're gonna have everything we need here. Don't want you. We want you. We want this. We want this. Okay. So that's good. And now let's go check out one of our NMS modules down here. NMS. We have abstraction and common modules as well, which is interesting. So let's say R1, build.gradle. You have the common and you have the dev bundle, and then you have just the modules you depend on. So let's try to do that. Okay. So you actually need the repository, right? We want you like that, and then I want you in the 1.8, right? And that should be good, hopefully. Oh my god, the vulnerabilities. Again. Very annoying. I don't know how to fix this besides just ignoring it, so that's what I'm doing. There we go. Don't need to worry about a typo there. It's fine. Okay, so the 1.8 is going to be our lowest version. Let's go down here. versions 1HR1 items. Okay, that's our package and layout there. Actually, I think the will be good. Okay, so we have items, and let's say down here, item builder. Implements item builder, and then we're gonna have to say hi item builder. Sorry. And let's go here. What are you implementing exactly? Just some stuff from. See what's common have. Common just has the paper dev, and that's common. Common has some NMS stuff that's common, and then abstraction here. You depend on the NMS common module, and you just have some of that stuff. So we don't need that right now, I don't think. But what we do want to implement is our item builder from the API. It will, I guess, depend on the API. Which is fine. So what we can do is go back here. Only project. Yeah. I believe that should be fine. There we go. And now I want to implement the methods. We're only going to be implementing the ones that aren't. Okay, I need to do you again. Should be able to compile only actually on these since it will be implemented in the main one down here. Let's do you down here. Let's say implement, and then also need to implement you. Get rid of it. That should be fine, even though it already has compile only on it. Okay, so you. You do need the X material library as well. Road cradle. Import you. Oh dear. Okay, maybe. Okay, here's what I'll do. Let's go up. Copy you. And then we'll just undo all of this. You should actually be able to just. There we go. Now we don't have to go and replace everything. Okay. So there we go. Honestly, what I might be able to do actually is just not even have to do all this. So what I'm gonna do This is good for versions. This is a common here, and we'll say versions. Or maybe we can just call this abstraction. No. No way, that's for interfaces that I'm not doing. View, and then down in settings.gradle, since now we have two commons, I want to do versions common. I think that's good to avoid issues with these two. All right, common. We want API above common. Actually, there we go. Okay, and then you are fine. Common. I think that's what I need to say. Yep. Okay. Cool. And now that we have this, we can obviously add you. Okay, you need the common, Gradle, so you just have the NMS common as well, and obviously the version spigot. So is that what I called it? I called it NMS common. What did I do that? Whatever. Technically, we could use NMS if we wanted to in all these, so that's fine. But we're not technically using any NMS code. So whatever. All right. Actually, whatever. We can future-proof it. Okay. So what we could do instead is say here. Item builder. There you implement you. Actually, let's. Well, yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, there we go. Really? Oh, right. Okay. Let's go that then. You. All we need is a spigot dependency. And that would be you. Nine. Hello. I have to hover over it just to do the keybind. That's so stupid. At that point, just click on it, right? Like, I can't use the keybind without that little tooltip being open, and I can't have that tooltip open without hovering over it in the first place. Whatever. Import you. Implement you. So we're not actually going to be using this one, but we're going to have all the common code in here. So that would be like using all the methods here, the get methods and stuff, I assume. Or whatever. So we're going to say Actually, we're gonna make you an abstract class. I'm gonna call you abstract item builder. So finally, final material wrapper material, and what I want here is so what I can do is go into common up here. Well, actually, oh yeah. Let's go ahead and delete. No, why did I call it iMaterial wrapper? Material wrapper, there we go. Now this implements iMaterial wrapper. Actually, okay. What am I doing? No, nothing yet. Nothing yet. I don't know, let's just worry about it down here, I guess. All right, no. Okay. And to be final. So what I want here is, well, I can't create a new one. Okay, so this is what I wanted. I can't create a new material wrapper because it is like we don't have an implementation of it, so I can't say new material wrapper with that. Okay. Because it's abstract, I don't have to implement the methods for this. So what I want is just say material wrapper X material. Okay. How did I do it in the item builder? When I said set data, when I said set data, set data, flow, set data, byte data. I did pass in a byte. Okay, well then let's do the same thing here. We can say private final byte data and private final X material. And data can just be 0, so it's fine if we just pass it in here, but then also say X material. Let's say that. Actually, what I can do is just say this material byte 0. Well, that'll be the same thing. Okay, and we could say we do public get material, and then public byte get data, return data. So we have getters for that. Right, that's good right there. Now we can go here and we're going to say material wrapper, not the actual abstract material wrapper, and we can just say oh, we can't create a new one still actually because it's abstract. Hmm. I might just have to implement it here. Somehow. Oh well, I think I'm just gonna have to. I can make this final, I guess. If I can spell it right. There we go. But then, wouldn't I want the material wrapper to just be all the way up here in the common module? But I should check because I think the common module. Yeah, it depends on the MS comment. So yeah, that's fine. Which means down here we actually want you to be above this. Right. Okay. Um, okay. I want this to be global then because I don't want to have to initialize it in a constructor here. We'll just do a simple check down here. If material, then that equals material if then mat dot stone. I'll do that. Otherwise, it's dot material. And then the wrapper. Looks for that. Okay, and then this should be fine. Okay, the stone. That's what I meant to say. Cool. So we'll just return stone. And then this is saying mat will equal material wrapper dot stone if this material is null. Otherwise, if it's not null, then use this dot material. Right. But that doesn't guarantee that this dot material is not stone. This could still be stone. Okay, and then mat dot build player material. And of course this has that. So I should say material wrapper there. And let's go mat here. That means all the way up we need to replace this with I material wrapper. Okay. Normally I think I have this as a static method. So yeah, okay. So we're actually gonna build the item stack here, but it's gonna be a very basic item stack. We're gonna handle custom heads, handle placeholder API placeholders, handle custom heads, and we're gonna handle data, handle material data. Yeah, that is all that. For 2 hours, okay. This is already getting a very big project. But in case you were curious, this is how you handle multi-module projects. I was just talking about this in Charles' Discord earlier with Najee. We were talking about Coral Prison and how not to handle multi-module projects. For example, Coral Prison and a lot of other Maven projects, and I don't know why, but they don't avoid circular dependencies, which you should be doing. Instead, what I'm gonna use Coral as an example here because I know this for a fact. But instead, what Coral did, apparently it's been abandoned by the way, but well, what Coral Prison did is they, with their Maven project, they built all of their modules independently, and then they depended on those modules in the other modules. So instead of having like a common module, they would just say, hey, this main module depends on this submodule, and this submodule also depends on the main module. So what they did to build them, because if they were to build them with the code that depends on the other module, then it would say, hey, you can't compile this because it's a circular dependency. So what they do is they remove all of the code, or they comment it out. They comment out all of the code to then they comment out all the code that depends on the other modules, and then they build it, and then they build each module, and then they add those jar files, the built compiled jar files of each module, to the other modules to depend on, and then they add the code that depends on it again. And that's just a huge hassle and a waste of time, because you're going to be doing that every time you need to add something. Like every time you need to add a method to one of the modules that the other module will depend on, you have to redo that, and you gotta comment out all the code again and re-comment it back in, or uncomment it back in after you've, built all the modules and stuff. That's just a huge hassle. That's why you don't do that. This is what you do instead. You just simply, say this, what is it? This module here is the main module. It has our main class. This module depends on every other module in the project, but no other module in the project depends on this one. They all depend on common instead, and common has a way to get the main class, but it doesn't depend on our main module, because that would be a circular dependency. That's how you do it. That's how you're supposed to do it. That way you can compile it, and you have no issues whatsoever compiling. You won't have any circular dependencies, and you won't have to comment out the code that depends on it or whatever. That's how you're supposed to do it, right? It's so much simpler, so much more simple. You don't have to waste a lot of time doing all that compilation and trying to do it. It's literally a loophole what they're doing, and it's not only is it a loophole, you're jumping through hoops, and it's making the development time way longer. I can tell you that. That's for a fact. So, and what's worse is, not only did that plugin itself cost hundreds of dollars, literally costed more than Photoshop, and it was like a license thing, and you had to subscribe to it, or buy a lifetime thing for like $300 or $500, I don't remember. But what was worse is that they also sold the source code, so you could buy the source code and you can modify it. But in order to even compile the source code, you have to first compile all of the modules independently, and that means you or your developer has to go in and comment out everything that depends on other modules and then build it, and then they then have to go through everything that the developers are going through, of the plugin are going through. And that just makes it so much more of a pain for the user to use your source code and modify it, right? And not only if, like, what if they're not even trying to modify it? What if they just have their custom version of the source code, or what if they just have the source code and they want to build it from that? They'd have to do that. They'd have to jump through all the hoops just to compile it, even if they didn't make any changes. And I think that's just ridiculous. I think that's just the worst. If I had a visualization, it would help explain, but essentially, I mean, I already explained it, but essentially they have to, oh, this module depends on this module, and this module depends on this module, so they both depend on each other. So let me go to this module and remove any code that depends on this module, and then I'll build this one module, and then I'll put that module into here so that it can depend on it. And they're not depending on this. They're depending on the last version of this module that was built that doesn't have any code that depends on this one. So it's not even an up-to-date dependency that they're depending on. It's the last time that they built this module without any code from this one. That doesn't call any code from this one. And they have to do that. They have to build this and remove any code that depends on this one every time. And not only that, they have to do the same thing for this one. So, like, if you add a method in here that common needs to call, then you have to go through here and remove any code that calls something from common. And then you have to build this, and then you have to put that built jar file into this, and then you have to uncomment out all the code, and then you can use that one method that you just added here. And that's just the pain. That's pain. You don't do it that way. It doesn't let you compile like that because it's not supposed to be like that. It's circular dependency, and that's just not how it's supposed to work. So they're not even depending on their own modules, technically. What they're doing is depending on the built version of it, on an actual jar file. So they have this common module, they build the jar file of it, and then they also add that to their project, which is another thing. It's stupid. And yeah, this just doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like modding. I recently modded a game in Unreal, and to access like something of the game, like to access a game's file, you don't actually access the game's file. You create a blank file that's named the same and in the same directory, and then when you build your mod, you just don't include that file. So it just accesses the one from the game at runtime instead of, compiling with it. That's kind of what they're doing. Because they don't include those jar files of each module in their built file, they just include the modules. So it's like, okay, well, this one calls this one, that's fine. This one calls this one, that's fine. They're like, it's like a dummy file, basically. But it's a whole jar file that contains the module that depending on. Anyways, that's been a rant. But that's just, gosh, like, why would you do it that way? It's just making it a pain for yourself. And I don't know if it's because maybe it needs to be done that way, but if it is, then I would really just recommend using Gradle because this is so much simpler. I mean, minus the build source stuff and using your own Gradle plugin from the build source folder, it's so much simpler. But technically, the build source folder and making your own plugin is how you're supposed to do it. Like, that's how they say that you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to make your own common Gradle plugin and stuff that all the other ones can depend on. And this is how you're supposed to. The main Gradle file is where you implement your other modules to add to the jar file, right? And then all the other ones just compile only the one that they depend on, so they're not actually adding to the jar file again. But yeah, that's how that works. And I think with that, you might have to not minimize, but I'm not sure. It should be fine. I don't know why, but I can never figure out how to minimize but exclude certain project or whatever. But I don't know. I can never figure that out. But it should hopefully be fine. Let me check. Obviously Astro Prism here. Hold that Gradle. Shadow jar. Yeah, so this one doesn't even minimize, so maybe I have to do that. Oh yeah, assemble it depends on a shadow jar. Have I not? I've not been doing that. There. That way, whenever we assemble, it'll run the shadow jar task. Right, and the process resources is helpful as well to pass your version from right here into your plugin.yml. So that's what we'll do for that later. That'll be useful for later, is what I mean. And we also got to relocate the JetBrains stuff, the annotations. I think that's what it is, or will be located at, whatever. So yeah, I think that's good for now. We didn't really actually do anything. We just did a lot of project setup, which is usually how the first one goes, I guess. But right, let's see what we actually need to do here. So the common one has the item builder, the abstract item builder that we're going to use. But then this one is going to be the non-abstract one. So you're going to say extends abstract item builder. And you actually need to depend on the versions one version. Is that what I call it? Versions common. It'll depend on you. And then I can import you now. There we go. And so all of this stuff don't really need to deal with. I don't need to override those because they're already being handled in the abstract item builder here. We'll have this method implemented, we'll have this method implemented, we'll have everything except for I think the MBT stuff and the data methods, right? Because this is 1.8, right? We'll have you. Where's our data? Oh yeah, we have the data stuff wasn't required to be overridden. So override methods. Want to override set data and get data. Just like that. So now we'll have private final data. It doesn't need to be final. And then get data, return data. There we go. We also need to return this. There we go. So this one for 1.8 will override the set data and get data methods to handle the data here, right? And the abstract item builder will handle setting the data on the item. We can go here and we can say equals get data, and it should call this one if we're using this implementation of it. That should be how that works. Right. And yeah, I think that's fine right there. And then say for 1.14 or whatever, so if we were to add like a 1.14 module, then we would override the custom model data methods to set and get that. And 1.16 we can override the build method or something to allow hex colors or something. Or we might have a color utility class that'll do that for us. And we'll only need 2 versions of it. And the common one will be the 1.8 version, and then we'll have an override in the 1.16 module that'll override the common one and will include hex color parsing. And that told you that. for instance, would say utils, and then we would say color utils. Well, we can't do it static. We'd have to get an instance of this, right? Color. So we would just simply say that color, translate alternate color codes, the input here. And that would be the common one. But then down here in 1.16, we would create another utils package just in here, versions.v1.16r1 or something .utils. We'd create another color utils class, and then we would override that. We would override this method to handle hex colors there. And we'll get around to that. But this is going to be this might actually be a really big project, because we haven't even got to the menus part. We've just been handling items right now. So this is going to be a while, I think. And I'm not sure how far I'll get into this, but I'm not sure if I'll ever finish this. Mostly because I got college, I got game dev I actually want to work on, I got the prison add-on now. It's a lot. I don't know, I felt like doing something today, and this seemed like an alright thing to do. And hey, it's another stream, so you know, it's fine. But I hope you learned something. I mean, there wasn't a lot going on. We didn't technically do anything, but we got a multi-module project set up, and not fully set up, because we still need to go to like our common and make that versions class that I was talking about. Here we need to make basically this public, or this enum version thing here, and we need to say like, hey, which one are we using? And then when we get which one we're using, then we have to get the implementation of each class, or we need to get which module down here in the version one that we're going to use for each implementation of stuff that actually is version dependent. So yeah, but if you want to look more into this, it is actually set up in my Astro Prison project. It would say common, so it's our main common module, not our version common one. We have utils and we have versions. And this just has 121, so 1.21, 1.21.1, as 121.2, which is technically R2, and it has 1.21.2, 1.21.3, and then 121.4, which is R3, which is 1.21.4. Yeah. And then we also have an unsupported enum value here. So what this does is we say static final, the current version is a public static final variable. And in a static block, we say, hey, what's our game version? We do bucket.get bucket version dot split by a hyphen, and we get the first version of that. So we get the current version. We say version v is equal to unsupported, and then we loop through our enum values up here. We say if version.game version contains this game version. So right. So each enum value has these member fields down here, including a list of game versions, which is this here. These are the list of game versions. So when we're looping through our enum values, we say, does that enum's value, or does that enum value contain this current game version in its list of game versions? And if it does, then we say, hey, this version is the one that we just iterated through, and we're going to break it there because that's the one we're on. And then we're going to say current, this variable up here, is equal to the one that we just got. And if it doesn't find anything in here, then it's going to be unsupported. All right. Also, it has a protocol ID, which is the number here, the first number. The NMS version is the second string here. There's the first string, I should say, here, the second parameter. and then the game versions is anything after that. And that's what this constructor looks like. So you have the protocol ID, the string of NMS version, and then any amount of strings for the game version. That's all you do. And then if you don't have any parameters in your enum, then it just sets it to -1 protocol version, a null NMS version, and an empty list of game versions. And that's the unsupported. That's what unsupported is, because it doesn't have any parameters. Right, and then you have getters here for each NMS version. Game version, you can get a later version, or you can check, or yeah, you can get the version that's right after, that's later than the version you pass in, or you can get the earlier version than the one you passed in. And yeah, that's all that. But that's not it, so because that's just a helper, right? We can go to I think it's just in our main class, if I'm not wrong here. Go to our main class. Or maybe not. On enable, yeah. So we have an NMS factory class. We call on enable there. And if it returns false, then we are on an unsupported version from the version's enum. So NMS factory, I believe, is in common here. NMS, yeah, NMS factory. So we have the on enable boolean method, which is static. So if the NMS handler is not equal to null, it's private static nullable variable up here, then we return true. Because we don't need to do anything. It's already been ran, this method. And we say the version is version.current. If the current version is equal to unsupported, then we return false because we already know it's unsupported. And we say, okay, so try NMS handler equals a abstract NMS handler, which we're casting to class.forName, and we get the package that the NMS version handler is at, or NMS handler is at, with the NMS version. And we get the constructor with the Java plugin.class, and then we create a new instance with our main class that we pass in. And then we have a getter method for the NMS handler to get that. And why we're getting it from, we're using reflection here to get it at, we're getting this NMS handler class at this package. And that depends on the version, because if we go back to our NMS modules, or one of the versions here, you can see we have a package, dev fabled NMS versions. Then the NMS version, that has an NMS handler in it, and that one implements the abstract NMS handler, and that has everything we need, like this version's packet manager, this version's packet listener, and all that stuff. So if you want to look more into that, you can do that here on this repository, github.com/astroprison, and make sure you're on the Mantis Recode branch. And if you want to learn more about this as well, not just looking at the repository, everything on the Mantis Recode branch, I have live streamed in the past. So you can check out my YouTube channel to view previous live streams. All of my progress on AstroPrison is in a playlist, so you can go check that out. This is probably, I don't know how early on this would be, but yeah. So you can check that out as well. You can skim through my streams to see when I started setting this up. And I explained it all more there, but yeah, anyways, that was getting a little bit off topic, but that's basically what we're doing right now. Just using that for reference, and I think that's it for today, because I am hungry and I don't want to overwork it. I also got to do schoolwork anyways, so. But yeah, sorry about the not doing much. I didn't really have a plan going in besides what I wrote down here, like, oh, this is kind of what I want. So I don't really have a plan for today's stream. I just wanted to spontaneously start working on a library. As I said again, I don't know how long or how far I'll make it into this library, but I'll probably try to stream more of it, because my main problem whenever I make a plugin is menus, because I've done it so many times that I'm just annoyed by them, and I don't want to have to keep resetting them up, and that's what the purpose of the library would be for. And I don't want to use other people's libraries, because I just don't like doing that. I'd rather use my own stuff. But anyways, that's it for the day. If you'd like to join my Discord, you can ask questions there. You can get notified when I go live next time. I also stream games, so that's pretty fun. And I will be hopefully doing more coding streams in the future. Hopefully some Unity stuff. I need to work on my game, to be honest. But I don't want to stream. I don't know if I want to stream working on my game until I'm at least much further in, because right now I have basically nothing on it. No textures or anything. So, I mean, yeah. But I did do a stream on a different project, which is like a third-person game. You can check that one out. It was pretty cool. I have to update that one and use a better camera system, I think. But yeah, we'll get to it someday. I don't know. There's just a lot going on, and I'm like bouncing between projects and all that, and I just, you know, I don't know. We'll see. Again, Discord, it's on my YouTube homepage, on my Twitch homepage. Streams are always uploaded to YouTube right after the stream ends. Just automatically, I don't have to do anything with that. And they stay there forever, and they're in 1440p, so if you're over on Twitch and you're only watching in 1080p, you can come over to YouTube and check that out on 1440p. And also, the streams do disappear after a while on Twitch. That's just how Twitch works. But they are permanent over on YouTube, so feel free. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Hopefully we're doing something fun.